Well, there was that story that before doing like the kissing scene with Janet Jackson, I guess Janet wanted him to take an HIV test.
It wasn't Janet. Now you got Janet.
But you know what I'm talking about, though. This became a talking point.
It became a talking point, but so many different stories from it. But you had to be there, so you had to look at it from a different perspective. All right. So yeah, everybody loved Pac when the movie first started, but we did everything. We were around each other for like 12 weeks. 3 months.
12 weeks? It took that long to film it?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we really drove every place and we rehearsed and we did everything. We were in each other's faces, cabins, and we were staying in hotels. It was great. And Janet was professional every time. She came early, stayed late. She packed her stuff up, went to Winnebago with her crew or whatever. And you know what I'm saying? And they, we need Janet back. She'd come back, set up, do it. Everybody was like that at first. And then with Janet, but then at the same time, I mean, you would see, you know, Pac was a rap star. So the trailers are right there. So you would see the different women that came in and out of the side of Tupac's trailer. He's smoking weed, going everywhere to the set, you know, women, and they banging girls in the set. He was just being Pac. So her crew looking at that were like, yo, anything happened to Janet, Janet come with like 30 people working with her. If Janet ain't working, you're not getting a check. So at that time, AIDS was pretty popular. She caught a cold when she kissed Q-Tip in one of the first scenes. 2 days she couldn't work. They had to reschedule, shut down. Change scenes. That's a lot of shutting around. Like, but they got her better, and it was like, okay, she couldn't be sick and doing on film, but that was just in the first scene. So they looked at her and what she was going to be exposed to a little more when you saw Tupac just, you know, just having this way with women and being a young guy, and they were like, okay, you got a love scene, sex scene, all this stuff with her. And his attitude got more, you know, aggressive and not showing up. And you know, and I think there was a rumor going around about, you know, Tupac burned her or gave her something, because women kind of knew he was hitting that one, and that extra, so they probably would say something. And by that time, it was like, yo, he needed to get an AIDS test before we put all this, you know, into our investment. We put him next to Janet. So it wasn't Janet, it was more her people saying, you know, because she wasn't tripping. Janet was not worried at all. Janet was the perfect professional, and it never came from her.
Yeah, I mean, John Singleton, I think he was on Drink Champs, where he said that both him and Tupac had a crush on her.
Who didn't have a crush on Janet?
I know, right?
What the hell are you talking about?
That was like the finest woman on earth. Like,
I've had a crush on Janet since she was Penny on Good Times.
Penny on Good Times, right?
So what are you talking about? I think she's a year older than me. No, a year younger than me. So
right.
My crush is legal, because I think she was 9 or 10.
Right, and you said that, you know, when you guys first started filming, Pac was very professional, but as time went on, he would, I guess, disappear on weed runs.
Yeah.
I guess he almost killed you and John Singleton in a Jeep once.
Well, yeah, before we got out of LA, this was when he turned 21 and they bought him a Jeep Cherokee on his birthday. And we didn't know that Tupac couldn't drive. So we just, you know, first couple of weeks, we instead of taking the vans back, we were like, oh, we're gonna ride with Pac. Because they brought the car up to the set and we were riding through Griffith Park. And he was, man, we were almost into the park. It was like, you know how to drive? So they stopped the car and they got John, myself, and Regina out. And they was like, nah, you about to kill the cast, you can kill yourself, but you're not about to kill the cast the first couple of weeks. And that's when we knew that he couldn't really drive. You don't know that when you jump in a car with somebody, you know, right after the set, and it's Tupac, and you're a friend, you're trying to be peer and hang out, and you didn't know they couldn't drive, especially through Griffith Park, if you up, down, and hills, and around, and yeah.
Well, I mean, I got to watch the movie again. You know, I had to brush up.
Oh, yeah. Brush up.
Literally brush up. Pun intended. You and that brush. The whole thing.
Brush,
I remember that one argument that you and Pac got, during the movie. It was just like, you were clowning his rapping. He's like, motherfucker, what could you do? It's like, I could dress.
Yeah. A lot of that shit was ad-lib. That shit was ad-lib? Most of the shit that John used to let me just say some of my lines, especially when Regina and I were arguing at the thing. Some of those lines, you ain't a beautiful motherfucker and all that. Yeah, those were just made up.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like the argument between Pac and Janet in the car before she, left, which is like, fuck you, bitch. I was like, yo, this is so real right now.
That was not there. Because Janet was getting on his nerves.
Really? Why?
He was getting close to Oakland, Some of those things, he was getting bad. He couldn't get the weed he wanted. So I didn't know they was making weed runs. I'm like, why is he gone? What are we doing? He's supposed to go to dinner. But he'd be trying to go there and get weed and come back. And then, back then, I don't know if weed was good or bad. I wasn't smoking it like that. So I can understand if he was getting it, it was showing. And, we were getting frustrated with it. So when you saw some of them things, he was just showing up on set. Like, we had been waiting for you for 2-3 hours.
Wow.
So now you coming up like, now you got an attitude? So I used to let him have it. I used to talk about him so bad.
You guys got in arguments?
No, we in an argument.
You just talk shit about him.
Talk shit about him.
He would take it.
What are you gonna
do? You're the one that's late, motherfucker.
Slate, but back then I was weighing like what, 195?
Oh yeah, you were kind of
370.
Yeah.
Throwing all my martial art. Come on, man. Come on. Now you're being disrespectful.
Oh yeah, and that argument between you and Regina King, when she was like, "That's the reason I'm fucking somebody else." And then, it's just like that long pause where I think you finally put that brush in your back pocket for the first time in the movie. You just went, whap.
Now, it's a little insight about that.
Okay.
That scene was supposed to be a lot quicker. And the stuntman, great stuntman, he was, Pac and I was fighting like we were in a cowboy scene, like in a saloon. We were fighting for like 10 minutes. He throw me over here, rolling, he was fighting. I was like, we're brothers. We ain't gonna be fighting out here, especially if nobody can bring it up. Somebody get thrown to the ocean. It's gonna be a this, that, and for real, I kind of coordinated.
It was on a cliff, sort of, yeah. Okay,
yeah. So I was like, we're not that angry at each other to be, it was just a moment we had. So when that scene came along, I mean, they wanted to take it longer, and I was like, nah, I didn't want to. And that's the point about playing that character. I didn't want to come off like rap, just like a regular guy. Some of the strengths about me playing dark roles in comedies or dramedy or something is kind of bringing a little sensitivity in there because I didn't want to hit her, but after I thought about it, I wanted people to process that I'm not a woman, beater. But I mean, what man would take that, all the stuff she said, and then take the time to think about what she said, and she would just steal. So that was, just think about what she's saying before you do that. And I think that's the problem in a lot of relationships. You don't have that time to think, and 15 seconds to think can get you, in a world of trouble.
Yeah, that Janet Jackson kicked you in the nuts.
About 15, 20 times. Yeah, that wasn't. And that's funny because
Take 8.
Yo,
go hit those nuts again.
And then it was like they was trying to get that scene, but Oprah came to see Janet during that interview. Okay. We were closer to Santa Barbara, so I think Oprah was staying up that way, and she came on, and then it was like, okay, we got to get this scene, and Janet they got to look right because they get her and they get me and make it look right from her angle, and it was like, okay, but we got to get this in with Oprah, so. Can we come back after lunch? I'm like, so she kicked me another 25 times? Yeah.
So she was really kicking in the nuts?
Oprah was like, it really hurts. Didn't look like it hurt. I'm like, yeah, Oprah, that's okay. But you can have her. Let me go get some ice for my balls. Next, well, yeah.
Right, and after that whole fight scene, you got left right there on the side of the road. I guess you're like, he said, it's 15 miles from Oakland. So you had to walk 15 miles.
15 miles.
And you were never seen from again for the rest of the movie.
You know what I'm saying?
That was it.
It was just like,
I'm waiting for you to come back in the movie, and you just never come back.
That was it. I couldn't talk myself into another scene. I was like, can I show up later?
Come on, John, can I just?
I mean, hey, I stayed up there, nice hotel. We were at, San Francisco to finish that up, but that was it. And people think he threw my, how did he get his brush back? He threw it in the ocean. No, he threw
your hat, right?
No, he threw my brush. Because everybody liked when he threw the brush, because they hated that brush. But he threw it up in the road. He couldn't. And I went and checked, because I found it. Started brushing my hair again. all those little scenes are very important, but people hated that. But that brush was my Linus blanket. If people ask, if you want to know, it's like, why are you brushing your hair so much? Because that was John said, that's your Linus blanket. When you about to lie or tell something, you need to be comfortable and you're arguing with her, you would go brush your hair. But he got that. He said he saw me doing that, hanging out with me before I went out. And he said how I used to because I wore a little haircut like that. I used to just brush my hair. And he's like, you ain't ready yet in the mirror? So he kind of put that twerk into the film.
It worked. We're still talking about it all these years later.
I'm natural doing it. I got some Torry Chicago brunches coming out.
Well, the movie got released, and I guess some theaters refused to actually show it.
For real? I never heard that. Which ones were that?
Certain theaters felt like, they're worried about violence in the theaters and stuff like that. This is during the time that,
Right. It was right after, well, if it was trying to emulate another, John Singleton film where, it caused that. But I don't, that one was, we won our weekend with an amount of, we won our weekend. So it was like, whatever it did, we won the weekend.
It did it.
Which was the number one thing to do. You got that phone call, bling, 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 you guys are number one movie in the weekend.
Nice.
Good to be in.